So we'll start the recording.
Okay.
That way the girls will have it afterwards. And then I was just going to go over how to track a recipe in MyFitnessPal. So if you already know how to do that, you can feel free to leave whenever, and it's totally fine. And I'll just get going. I don't know where everybody's at today, but that's okay. I don't have my phone on me. Can you go ahead and just ask your question on here? That way people will know what I'm trying to answer when you watch this back.
Yeah. So I've heard that like your body can only process a certain amount of protein at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you consumed 100 grams of protein, your body can only like process and utilize a certain amount. So I was wondering if there's any truth to that.
Not to my knowledge. I mean, your body's going to use all the protein that you consume, even if you have a ton at one time versus spreading it more evenly throughout the day.
Okay.
But there is only so much that it will use specifically for protein synthesis, and whatever is not used for that will be used for fuel later or stored as body fat. So
okay. So I was wondering, it's like yesterday I was fairly low on my protein, so in the evening I want to say I probably had like 70 grams. I had a protein shake and something else to kind of catch myself up, and so I was kind of like, well, is that a waste? Should I not do that? Or
no, it's totally fine.
Okay.
Totally fine. It's not one of those things where if you have like 40 grams at one time and your body only uses 30, like the 10 or the rest of the 10 are useless type thing. There's no magical number that your body can process at one time. So I think the only downside to eating a bunch of protein at one time is you'll probably just feel like shit, you have 100 grams of protein.
Yeah.
But in terms of your body not using it, it'll be used in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other question, let me see what she had asked specifically. She's actually one of the girls that joined a little bit later, so she's fairly new to tracking her food. And she had said, how do I get that much protein without the fats? Also, I'm always hungry. I wanted her on here because I wanted her to pull up her MyFitnessPal entries to see if there was any feedback I could give her with what some of the foods are that she's eating now and what maybe some of those protein choices are. So Tiffany, some higher fat, higher protein options that you may want to scale back on, assuming that you're eating these, would be things like salmon, cheeses, red meat, eggs, chicken thighs, like the 80% ground beef or ground turkey. Those are going to have a lot more fat. And some lower fat options you can do that'll still give you a decent amount of protein are things like Greek yogurt, lean fishes. So things like tilapia, which are hit or miss, I think, with people. Everyone's got their own feelings towards tilapia. But shrimp, tuna packets, like the 99% lean ground beef or ground turkey. Certain protein powders are relatively low in fat, so you could do that. Beans and rice, which are a complete protein too, so if you're vegetarian or vegan, you could do those options. Chicken breast, of course, and then egg whites too. So Tiffany, I would be curious though to kind of look at a few of your meals or your snacks and see if there's any suggestions I could give to you to bring down your fat content and raise your protein, so that your macros are a little bit more balanced with that. So those were the only questions on the Facebook group. And unfortunately, we don't have everyone here to ask questions last minute, but let me go ahead and start sharing my screen so that I can go over how to track a recipe in MyFitnessPal. So let's do that. Okay, share screen. There we go. Let's do the desktop. Okay. Get out of the Facebook page here. Okay. Katie, I know you had to go away, so hopefully you can see my screen being shared. If not, let me know. That way I don't end up going through this and you're like, oh, I can't see what you're doing. So This is going to look slightly different just because for most of us, we track our food probably through an app on our phone. There's my Macros Plus, and then there's my FitnessPal. I use my FitnessPal personally, have for years. So things might look a little bit different doing it on the laptop versus the phone. But for the most part, you guys should have a good kind of understanding about what I'm going to do in terms of how to track a recipe. You know, if you're making this huge meal and it has a bunch of ingredients and you have a small portion of it, how the heck are you going to track that? So the example I have is actually one of my own recipes, and it's one of my favorite things ever. It is the healthy broccoli beef. So this is on my website for those of you who, hey, Melissa, welcome. So anyway, this is on my recipe or on my blog on my website. I have a ton of recipes on there for you guys that don't know, and I have a cookbook also on there. So this recipe specifically yields 4 servings. So this is going to be a good example of how to track this and then just figure out kind of what this macro breakdown of how I got these numbers for just 1 out of the 4 servings. So if we scroll up to the top here, and we're just going to take whatever recipe you're following, you're going to enter in every single ingredient separately, which I know is going to take some time, and it's a little bit of a pain in the butt to do it first. But a lot of us kind of have recipes that are like our go-to meals that we make for our families. So once it's in the app and you have it already plugged in, it's just a matter of going and searching for it and kind of using the check mark to get it in there. So it's not going to take as long once you get a recipe in there for the first time. So let's go ahead and start tracking this. So we're going to do the chow mein noodles, and we're going to do add food here. I find it easier to do everything under one meal, and preferably you guys do want to start adding these ingredients in without anything else in there for the rest of the day. So if you're doing a recipe at night, trying to get it in, maybe go to tomorrow's date so that you start with a blank slate. Hey, Melissa. I think you're on there twice. Okay, how is that brand spelled? Chuka soba. I probably am not saying that right. Noodles. Okay, so we're gonna, search that. And I'm gonna minimize this. Okay. So I don't have the package in front of me, which is not very helpful, but when you're doing this, I'm sure that you are. Let's go with this one and just assume that it's the right one for now. We do want to change the whole entire serving size. So it looks like this container is 14 ounces. The recipe did call for 1 package. So we're going to make sure that that is right. So 1 serving, 1 container, and we're going to do add food to diary. Okay, so let's go and we'll do this for every single item. Okay, so lean beef. Most lean beefs are going to have similar nutrition breakdown. So things like sirloins and lean cuts of beef like that are going to be similar with their nutrition info. So we're just going to type in sirloin. And I like to type in USDA after a lot of the things that I search, just because they tend to be a little bit more accurate with their data in my FitnessPal, especially if I can't find something that has the green verified check mark next to it. Okay, so we used 6 ounces, so we're just going to change this to 2 servings since they have their serving as 3 ounces. Add food to diary. Okay, and then broccoli, we did 2 cups, so we're going to add food here. Broccoli, again, just a personal preference there on the USDA. And let's see if this one gives us the option to change to cups, which it does not. So I try to find one that has the serving size with whatever I measured it as. I don't want net carbs. Okay, so for the sake of just putting this in, let's just assume, I don't know if this is correct, but let's just assume that 1 cup is 100 grams, just for the sake of getting this info in. Things like ginger, rice vinegar, garlic, spices, please do not stress over trying to track those for whatever rhyme or reason. Honestly, for this recipe, I wouldn't even track the liquid aminos, which is like a kind of a healthier version to soy sauce. I mean, if you're tracking your sodium, you can definitely account for it, but things that have such low nutritive value, I find personally that it's just not worth the energy. So, but we do want to, of course, track the olive oil. So we'll add that as our last piece here. I think it said 2 tablespoons, right? Yeah. Okay. So 1 tablespoon is the serving size here. So we're just going to change that to 2. Add food to diary. Okay. So this is nice, and this is why I chose to share the screen with you guys on the laptop versus the phone, because it's just easier to see, all of this data kind of outlined right here, which is harder to see when you're doing on your phone. So for the whole recipe, it's almost 1,900 calories, 177 grams of carbs, 54 grams of fat, 87 grams of protein, and then here's the sodium and the sugar. So again, keep in mind the only thing that would change with this recipe is the sodium content, because we did not account for the liquid aminos. But if that's something that you are trying to watch, then definitely feel free to add that in. So what I like to do is just kind of on a piece of paper and a pen, is to write out some of this data. So 1881 calories, 177 grams of carbs, 54 grams of fat, 87 grams of protein, 263 sodium, 5 grams of sugar. And then I'm going to take all those numbers and divide those by the number of servings that this recipe calls for. And in this one specifically, in this case, is 4 servings. So we're going to take the total calories, divide it by 4. Okay, so this whole meal is about 470 calories, which is probably going to look slightly different than what I put down here, because I think the brand of the noodles is different. And it just goes to show you different brands can yield pretty significant differences with their nutrition and their macro information. So if you are following a recipe and a lot of the things and the ingredients are packaged, then you're going to be better off just scanning the barcode to make sure that you have the right data in there, and you'll be far more accurate that way. Let's do the same for the carbs. So 177 divided by 4, 44. Fat, 54 grams divided by 4 is 13.5. So I just round up to 14. 87 grams of protein divided by 4, 21.75. So we're going to round up to 22. Sodium, round up to 66 milligrams, and then sugar is going to be close to 1 gram. Okay, so what we do from here is go to, I believe, I'm so used to doing this on my phone, it's going to take me a second to figure out where to go from here. So I believe maybe it's My Foods where we can add in our own recipe. Okay, so create food. Okay, so brand/restaurant, I just typically will type in homemade. Food description, whatever the recipe is. We're going to do healthy broccoli beef here. Okay, not a duplicate, but thank you. Okay, and then the serving size, and this is where you're going to enter in all of that data. So there's 2 different ways you guys can do this. You can either put the serving size for just 1 serving if you want to, which is what I just did the math for when I divided everything by 4, or you can enter the nutrition information for the entire recipe and then just change your serving size to 1/4, because you're going to have 1/4 of this recipe. So we're just going to do serving size, let's just say 1 cup or 1 serving. Servings per container, there's going to be 4. Okay, so if I did it this way, my 1 serving would be the 470 calories, 14 grams of fat, sodium ended up being 1, carbs 44, sugar, sugar is 1, sorry, sodium is 66, and protein is 22. So you could enter it in that way, or do it the other way where you have the nutrition info for the entire recipe. So we'll just put 1 and we'll do 1881. The fat was 54, sodium 263, carbs 170, 5 sugar, and 87 grams of protein. Okay. So let's just go ahead and say that yes, we want to add this to meal 1. Let's save this here. Okay. Oops. Go to today's or tomorrow's entries. So now if we went to add food, we should be able to find this recipe under my foods. These are all of my meals I have added. Homemade, where to go? Dun, dun, dun. Maybe meals? I did save it, right? Oh, weird. Okay. Well, anyway, I have, this is the recipe anyway. So homemade, I spelled homemade wrong. You would just check it, add to checked, and then you would just change the serving size that way. Okay. So does that make sense on how to track a recipe in MyFitnessPal? Melissa, I know, go ahead, Katie.
Well, I was wondering why you do that rather than create a recipe. Is there a benefit to
I don't know.
it that way?
Let's see.
Because when I didn't even know you could do what you just showed me. So
oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that you could just make a food. I usually just do the whatchamacallit, the My Recipes.
Okay.
And you can.
So are you under the recipe tab right here that you usually go to?
I can only see the top of your, like the toolbar right now.
Okay. Can you screen share maybe from your phone and show us what you're referring to? Because it's very possible that there just is another way to do it. And I would be very curious. It should be maybe at the bottom middle of your screen. I think you guys should be able to do that from your phone. Oh, I think you're muted. Still muted.
There we go.
There we go.
Share content. Let me see. Share screen. It's only like giving me the option to share.
Let me see if I can.
Maybe if. Oh shoot! Sorry.
No, you're fine. Okay. So if we went to, where do you go once you're in MyFitnessPal? And maybe I'll just kind of pull it up for you guys here. Yeah, okay.
So you can, in the food section, you can do, you can go to like add food, like anywhere, and then select recipes. And so, and then from there you can do the little plus sign.
Okay. So I'm going to go. So let's just assume this is today's, everything's blank, right? So she's saying
yes,
that under diary, we'll go to add food and then the recipes section at the top here. And
then the plus sign.
Okay. So yeah, it still leads you to the same options. And I usually go to create a food.
Okay. Yeah. See, I always just do create a recipe or whatever. And then you can bulk import all of your, like you can bulk import the ingredients. So especially, okay, yes, I'll open your water. So especially if you're doing it from a website, you just literally plug in the URL for the site that the recipe is on. And then MyFitnessPal will find on that page where the ingredients and everything are, and it'll import it. You do have to double check because it will sometimes pull in some weird stuff. But you
Okay.
just have to kind of like double check the ingredients that it selected for you, and you might have to change them a little bit. But
So I'm gonna test that out right now because I did not know that, and that would be super helpful and a hell of a time saver. So
yes.
let me pull up my website on my phone, and I want to see if it'll take the data off of there. If I have the link for it. So let's see. Also,
Yeah,
can we
because I
have a
always
round
just
of,
do that. Huh?
I was just gonna say, can we have a round of applause for not getting kicked out of Zoom yet? I'm
I
very
know,
happy
right?
right now. Very happy. Okay, let's try this and get the recipe going. Okay, so you just copy the link you said, right? Okay, so we're under add recipe, add from the web,
Yes.
and then we're gonna paste the URL.
And then you,
okay,
yep.
paste, go.
Okay.
So import recipe, it just pulled up my website. Import recipe down at the bottom. Wow. Okay, so it imported the ingredients.
So then from there, I usually
arrow.
just, if any of the measurements are weird, I kind of like I correct them there. But then when you go, once it, so it'll add them all, and then you'll still have the option at the next screen to modify anything.
Okay. Wow.
So here,
okay. My mind's blown. This is amazing. Okay.
So from there, like if there's a specific brand that you're using, so like the noodles, if you have your brand of noodles on hand, you can just select that one, and then you can search for an alternative. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then we would just click the arrow. Gosh, that is so much easier. Okay, well, my phone's frozen. Okay, there we go. So, oh, and it has the photo. Look at that. So it pulls up the serving size as well as how many servings there are, but this will be the serving, the nutrition facts for one serving, and you just save and log it. Okay, very cool. My mind.
Yeah, and the plus thing about that is I recently learned that you can share like recipes with other people. Did not know that before. I thought like when we would have family dinner, we'd all just sit here and be like plugging it in individually. You can actually like text it like to it, and then it'll automatically import into their MyFitnessPal. So
okay, well that's super easy then. Way easier than 1900s math on pen and paper.
Hey, it works though.
Cool.
So.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Melissa, I know you joined a little bit late. We went over kind of just a few questions that were on the Facebook page, which was protein absorption. So I'll let you go back and rewatch this. I'll get it uploaded tonight, if not tomorrow, as well as just some lower fat, higher protein options. There was one of the girls that was having trouble with going over her fats and not being able to hit her protein and just needed some more kind of suggestions with that. So that's all that there was for today that I had scheduled. So do you girls have any other questions before we hop off?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll get this downloaded and uploaded hopefully in the next couple hours, but you guys have a good rest of your week.
All right, you too.
Bye.
All right, bye.